Senator, I want to turn to the new economic numbers that came out today, a new record filing for unemployment benefits. But the unemployment benefits do not cover everyone who is suffering in this situation. I want to listen to Stacey Barlow Hill, who's a small business owner in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. Let's listen to her.
I've worked so hard to build and to create a reputable entity is just falling apart before me. And that's really hard. It's really hard to watch that.
Senator, Donald Trump and the Republicans seem to think that small business owners like her can just magically recreate their business after zero revenue for all this time and no ability to pay their staff.
Yeah. It's tragic, Lawrence. Today the jobs numbers came out. Of course, we're looking at almost 40 million Americans who are now, over the course within the last 100 days, have become unemployed. Before the pandemic, we knew that less than half of American families could afford a $400 unexpected expense. People are hurting. I speak all the time about the fact that recently we've learned that 1 in 5 mothers with a child under the age of 12 reports their children being hungry. And then when it relates to small businesses, we in the Congress fought for small business relief, but it was deeply flawed. What ended up happening is the Paycheck Protection Program ended up going to publicly traded companies. And what ended up also happening is that 90% of minority and women-owned businesses did not get relief from the Paycheck Protection Program, which is why, together with Ayanna Pressley, the congresswoman from Massachusetts, I have proposed the Saving Our Street Act, which would be about saving the business down the street, the bodega, the hair salon, the barber shop, the florist, and ensuring that any employer who has 10 or fewer employees has dedicated resources through the federal relief package, and in particular $125 billion that would go to those small businesses so that we can make sure that we keep them alive. They are part of the lifeblood of our communities. And as so many of us know, these are the local restaurant. These are the folks who know us. These are the folks who, when we walk in, they know our children. They ask how our day or our week has been. And we got to keep them alive. We've got to keep them floating and getting through this pandemic, which was not of their making.
And of course, when the Republicans tried to define small business in their legislation to help so-called small business, they defined it as a business with 500 or less employees. That's not what we think of as small business. Your number 10, and those small double-digit numbers, those little businesses like that didn't have the powerful lawyers and accountants who could immediately secure that money for them. So by the time they got near the paperwork, it was all gone to those big companies.
You're exactly right, Lawrence. And in fact, so many of them, and in particular, these small businesses, women-owned, minority-owned, small community businesses, that many of them don't have a line of credit, or they bank with the community bank. And so they're not the ones affiliated with the big bank and some powerful banker who calls them up and says, hey, Bob, this money's about to come down. Let me start getting your paperwork in order. I have a constituent who has a beauty salon who told us, look, they want me to fill out all this information about my vendors. Well, I get my products at the beauty supply store, right? And she's part of the community. She's an important business in the community, and she is exactly the kind of business that we need to keep active and allow them to get through this crisis. So part of my bill with Ayanna Pressley says that this money cannot, the $125 billion, is not going to be able to be available to publicly traded companies, to hedge funds and things of that nature. We really need to save our small businesses. So it's 20 employees and other if they're in fewer, if they're in disadvantaged communities, and otherwise it's 10 employees or fewer. But they really are the lifeblood. They're the family restaurants. They're the folks who are, when you walk in and say, hey, can you sponsor the Little League team? They're there. They're the ones who, when there's a moment of need for charity from businesses in the community, they're the first in line to help. And so we need to help them.